When I was young, I had an irrational fear of our basement. Admittedly, it was quite an eerie place for a child. It was rather sizable, with an L-shaped couch positioned centrally, facing a wooden support column. In front of the couch sat our bulky old TV, the hub for all our video game consoles. The basement was designed in a circular layout centered around this couch. In one corner there was a booth and table setup, while in the opposite corner stood an old bar hiding the entrance to the laundry room. The remaining corner housed the doorway to my dad's small workout area. Our living situation was a bit unusual. My dad rented out the upstairs of our house to an elderly lady named Ruth, leaving us with access to only the first floor and the basement. Since my dad preferred the living room upstairs, our gaming setup was relegated to the basement's less than impressive TV. As the youngest of my siblings, with two older brothers, I was likely between 6 and 8 years old at the time of this story. On this particular day, my brothers were out, probably having play dates with friends, leaving just my mom and me at home while my dad was at work. Normally, I'd be down in the basement playing video games with my brothers, which always made it less daunting. However, being alone down there, I distinctly remember feeling a bit spooked as I descended the stairs. The basement door had a habit of slowly closing unless propped open, adding to the sense of isolation from the rest of the house and my mom. Despite playing my favorite video games on that worn gray couch, any slight noise would cause me to pause and scan the basement anxiously. Familiar, eerie sounds often emanated from the laundry room, but one day, a strange noise caught my attention. The distinct sound of something dropping and bouncing. I panicked, running upstairs to find my mom, claiming there was someone in the basement. She calmly reassured me, investigated the laundry room herself, and confirmed it was empty, easing my fears. With her comforting words, I returned to my video games while she continued with her evening tasks. As night fell, the darkness outside only intensified my unease about the basement. Its two small windows provided little light, plunging it into darkness after sunset. Despite my apprehension, I eventually returned downstairs, only to be startled by the loud roar of the heater in the laundry room. Turning around, I saw the laundry room door wide open. Terrified, I cautiously approached, my fear growing as I stared into the pitch-black room. Summoning my courage, I slammed the door shut and rushed back to the safety of the couch. Moments later, I heard a man's voice behind me. Frozen with fear, I turned to see a sickly-looking man seated in the corner of the basement, his presence sending shivers down my spine. Without a second thought, I bolted for the stairs, screaming for my mom. She swiftly called 911 as I huddled with her and a police officer in a safe room. When the police arrived, they found the intruder, my estranged uncle, a convicted sex offender. He had broken into our home and hidden in the basement, unbeknownst to us. He was promptly returned to prison, but his whereabouts now remain unknown. It was nearing Halloween, and the mid-October weather was still warm as we celebrated my cousin Andy's 12th birthday at our Uncle John and Aunt Melissa's house. Our family gatherings were always lively, given our large family. Andy and I, being the same age, enjoyed playing games together, often joined by my older brother Chase, who was 2 years my senior. Despite our older cousin's participation, our age differences didn't deter us from playing hide-and-seek games, especially in Uncle John and Aunt Melissa's spacious backyard. Their house provided ample hiding spots, and on this occasion, I decided to hide in Aunt Melissa's fashion room in the basement while Chase chose a spot elsewhere. To add a humorous twist to my hiding place, I covered one of Aunt Melissa's mannequins with a blanket, intending to surprise whoever discovered it. As I waited patiently under another blanket, I heard the sounds of the game echoing through the basement. Eventually, Chase called out that food was being served outside, signaling the end of our game. Eager to eat, I quickly joined the festivities in the backyard. Later, as I conversed with Aunt Melissa, I realized I had left the blankets in her fashion room. Returning to retrieve them, I discovered one of the blankets draped over a seated figure. Initially assuming it was another mannequin, I soon realized it was a person. Alarmed, I called out, but they remained silent. Sensing something amiss, I hurriedly left the room, only to find myself face to face with bare feet, uncharacteristic for our family gathering. Startled, I alerted my uncle and urged him to call the police, suspecting an intruder. Despite my insistence, when my family searched the house, the intruder was nowhere to be found. Although my claims were taken seriously, the mystery remained unsolved. The incident left me unsettled, wondering who the intruder was and how they had entered our home undetected. This story takes place when I was 9 years old. I'm now almost 25. I was at my great-grandfather's house in Idaho during Christmas break, visiting family and whatnot. This was also the first year my mom's boyfriend came with us because my parents had divorced the summer before. My grandpa used to live in a small Indian reservation town with about 1,000 people. His house was a small 2-story house surrounded by fields and forests. It was a beautiful property, and I miss it dearly. About a day after we got there, my aunt, uncle, and cousins who lived in the same town as us surprised us by driving 10 hours to visit, despite saying they couldn't because of work. It was fun because at the time, my cousins and I were close. One night, my uncle, step-aunt, and cousin who lived next door to my grandpa came over to visit. While the grown-ups talked, my cousins Sam, 9, Evan, 12, Kennedy, 10, and I decided to play our monster game in the basement. In this game, Sam and Evan hid as monsters while Kennedy and I searched for them in the dark basement. If we got near them, they would make monster noises and chase us back to the top of the stairs, our safe zone. It sounds silly now, but it was scary and fun at the time. Sam and Evan hid first and told us to wait 2 minutes before searching. When we went downstairs, Kennedy went first, and we started our hunt. It was pitch black down there, with only the light of the pellet stove and the moon through the window. Despite knowing it was just our cousins, the darkness made it eerie. About 5 minutes later, Sam and Evan jumped out and chased us. We decided to play another round and did so, taking turns hiding and seeking. This time, as I led the search, I noticed a figure outside the window. I stopped Kennedy and pointed it out. Surprisingly, Sam responded, but when we investigated, we found Sam and Evan hiding under the ping pong table. They laughed and dismissed our concern as Uncle Stan or Grandpa checking the house. However, when I checked upstairs, everyone was in the living room. My stomach dropped. Someone was outside. When I told the others, they finally realized I wasn't joking. We debated what to do but decided not to involve the adults. Upon returning downstairs, the figure was gone, but the window was open. Suddenly, we saw a man in his mid-40s sitting in a chair. Terrified, I yelled, "Run!" We fled upstairs and told our family, who called the police. Although the man was gone when they arrived, footprints in the snow confirmed our story. My grandpa was upset but relieved we were safe. Since then, I've been afraid of basements, even as an adult.